Hi everybody, how are you all? Good to see you. So we've got a few people in the chat box with us today. Let's see who we've got. We've got Alan Soff. Hello, how are you all? Fantastic. And Alan's, as always, is posting stacks and stacks of stuff. Who else have we got? Let me see who we got with us. Rich, you're with us as well. Fabulous. And bada bing after last night. So you got up early then. Well done. And now, Reverend, the Reverend's with us. It's not even a Sunday, but the Reverend's with us. My hat goes off to you, Rev. Right then. And of course we've got the bitching bot, as he's renamed himself, I've noticed. That's so funny. If you weren't here last night, then you missed a cracking evening, I have to say, on TNS. What with Truthful Irish, his first show, absolutely smashing. Did a smashing job, and then it ran into Bitchin' Bob, or Bob Bot, as he's renamed himself. And he overheated a little bit last night, Bob Bot. We had to cool him down in the chat box. So I'm Deborah Walker. This is Food for Thought, and I've got Nick, as always, riding shotgun on my wagon with me, doing all the technical stuff, because quite frankly, I'm a bit hopeless at that side. So what have I got lined up for you today? I've got an interview that I did earlier in the week with Vera Peiffer, who is actually an amazing therapist and author, a best-selling author, in fact, of a book called Positive Living. And it's actually one of the books that I have on my reading list, which I tend to give out to my clients. She is, she's got a really high profile in the natural health industry. She does a lot of talking, going out and doing conferences and things like this. So let's play this pod for you, and then I'm live for the second half as always, so I'll be in the chat box chatting to you all. Enjoy. Vera Peiffer, best-selling author of books including Positive Living and therapist, holds a degree in psychology, is the principal of the Fifer Foundation and fellow of the Association of Analytical and Cognitive Therapists, also a member of the College of Advanced Hypnotherapy. Vera has a full-time practice as a hypnotherapist since 1986 and is also qualified as a health kinesiologist, thought field therapist, and she has a massive amount of knowledge. Every time I speak to her, she kind of blows me away with her knowledge. She runs seminars for the general public, for companies in Europe, and speaks and goes off regularly, I think, to escape to health conferences from it all. Her latest book's called Regrowing Hair Naturally, and she's one of the authors on my book list that I give out to my clients, on my shelves. I'm more than pleased to actually welcome Vera to my show.
Hello, Debbie. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here.
I don't think you're anywhere near as excited as I was when I first met you, to be honest. So where do we start? You have a massive career, and can you just outline for my audience who might not know you, some of your career to date, your progression of where to where you are now, and what led you to do the work that you're doing?
Well, it all started off, I suppose, with me coming to England. As you know, I'm German, and I came to the UK in 1982. Originally, I had trained as a teacher, and I came over to teach German to an MP and his wife in London. That was for 1 year, and I liked it so much that I decided that I was going to stay in the UK. And I did a lot of temp work then because I could type, and that kept me going, but I knew I wasn't going to be secretary for the rest of my life. So I then started studying a degree in psychology with the Open University, which was, besides also working during the day, I did the study in the evening, which was great and very interesting. But it was also a lot of theory. But then, as coincidence would have it, I met a lady, Ursula Markham, at a party, which was thrown by one of the girls I'd met temping. And when she told me a little bit about her work, I didn't really know anything about hypnotherapy. I thought, yes, that is very interesting. And I then also came across a program on television where a doctor was teaching a patient with phantom pain how to make the pain go away in the leg that was no longer there. And the man was talking about how he had used self-hypnosis to just make that pain go away. And I was really, really fascinated by that. And I just knew this is what I wanted to learn. So I got in touch with Ursula after that, seeing that program, and started doing my first diploma in hypnotherapy, which was very, very interesting, mainly suggestion therapy. And then, I got the bug and I wanted to learn more, and I then went on to do further courses in analytical hypnotherapy, in hypnohealing, things like that. So, and then over the years, I then began to develop my own style. And I think we all do that. I'm sure you do that as well, Debs. I mean, you've been on courses, but you then develop your own way of doing things. You find what works better, what you like doing. And I did that as well. So, and with the work as a hypnotherapist, I realized what problems people were coming with, and it's really out of that work that I then started developing the books that I've written. So the positive thinking is basically something that came partly from the work I was doing with clients, and Positively Fearless and Stress Relief and stuff like that. They're all books that come from my work, and which is really nice, because I think if I'd never made the decision to come to England, I would have never become a hypnotherapist or written any books. So it's quite a nice progression of how things worked. And I must say I have learned most of what I know on the job, much more than on the courses. And it's been really so interesting and wonderful to do the work, to see how you can help without any drugs, without, cutting people open, taking stuff out. The mind can do so many things that have a direct effect on the body. And I've just re-edited one of my books, the one about hair growth, and there's so much research now which I've all added to my book, which is fantastic. So that was the hypnotherapy, analytical hypnotherapy, so I was mainly seeing people doing, working as a hypnotherapist. And then I had another German friend here who lived near me in Surrey. And she's, one of these people who plasters the walls with certificates. I mean, there's not a space left where she doesn't have a certificate, because she goes on every course there is, because she just enjoys going on course. She's a real course junkie. And we were talking, all the time, she'd always tell me which course she was on now. And she was always doing very well on all the courses and very knowledgeable. And, whenever she told me about a new course, I said, yeah, very nice, very interesting. It just, it wasn't anything that caught my attention. And until she told me she was on this health kinesiology course. And, I can't really tell you what it was, but I seem to have an innate sense of when something is really important for me. And she just told me something, maybe for 5 or 10 minutes about it, and I just knew I had to go on this course. So she'd already started a while back, but I joined and I did the course. Because we lived near each other, we went and we worked on each other. And one problem that I had was that when I was 14, I started having hair loss problems. I had sort of a round patch where the hair had fallen out. And, at the time, we're going back quite 35 years or so, there was very little knowledge about it. It was usually left, or the doctor said they couldn't do anything about it, or they gave you steroids. I mean, all sorts of pretty unpleasant treatments with lots of side effects, as you can imagine. And, my hair loss progressed and it got really, really bad. And I had a very hard time. If you imagine you're going to school, you're 14 years old, practically all your hair's fallen out. it's not that easy to go back to school the next day because you've got, another lot of hair has fallen out and you get comments and, I never got bullied, but it was really, really hard, a very, very hard time. And my parents didn't know what to do about it. They took me to doctors and specialists and they quite frankly didn't know what to do. They said they didn't know why that was. It was an autoimmune disease. And so, I got steroid injections, steroid tablets. I was blowing up, getting, all sorts of side effects from it. Anyway, nothing of it really worked. I was even sent, which I didn't write up in the book, I was even sent to a hospital which was part of a nuclear power station. And my sister told me that for 2 days nobody was allowed to come into my room. So God knows what they did with me there. There must have been something to do with, I don't know, some sort of treatment to do with radiation, I can imagine. So, well, anyway, lots of stuff happened. Nothing really helped. So, I just had to get on with it, but it was very, very hard. And I'm quite sure anybody who's listening to this program who has any hair loss problems will really understand what it's like. I mean, we women feel rubbish if the hair is not sitting properly or we can't style the hair on some days. Just imagine what it's like. You wash your hair and anything you've just touched you hold in your hand and it's come off your head. It is absolutely horrendous. So it took a lot of courage to go through life and to deal with it. So, well, I did it anyway. So by the time I got to study the health kinesiology, I thought, well, okay, let's test this new therapy. So my friend Katrina wanted to lose weight and I said, okay, you get my hair back with the health kinesiology. So we said, fine, so those are our aims. And so we worked on each other. We didn't know really that much. Katrina hadn't even finished her studies. She was still in the middle of it. And we just did the muscle testing on each other and saw what the body wanted, which corrections needed to be done. And we did them. And I think after about 14 sessions with Katrina, one morning I thought, something feels really weird on my head. It's like it was like something was closing above my head. I cannot explain it. Something was closing above my head. I thought something's happening on my head. And I went and I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh my God, after 30 years, there is some hair is growing again. And I couldn't believe it. It was absolutely amazing. And I think I spent hours in front of the mirror just looking at that hair. It was just stunning. And that was just my impetus. And I thought, that is it. Okay. Now, if my hair can start growing again after 30 years of no hair, there is something to this health kinesiology. And, I think in many cases where practitioners, deal with a problem themselves, they then start developing it on and you can imagine I was on a mission. I thought, well, if I can do this, what can I do to help other people? And that is really how I then developed into the whole thing of treating people with hair loss problems, men, women, children, any age group, with health kinesiology, and then developed it on later on. But I'll let you get a word in edgeways now, Debbie. So that's basically the process that I went through.
Wow, what an incredible story, to be honest. And I'm making notes as I go through there, but about all sorts of areas that you've talked about there. But I never realised, in all honesty, because I've got a full head of hair, I never realised how emotional it could truly be to actually lose your hair, and how difficult it could be, in all honesty.
It is. It's particularly difficult. the hair is bad enough, but what is particularly bad is when you lose your eyebrows and your eyelashes, because you virtually don't have an expression on your face, because it's your eyelashes and your eyebrows give your face expression, and it is very hard. And I know that from my clients, and I can really relate to that. You say, you know, especially the ones who lost all their hair, is you feel like something that comes from the moon. I mean, you just, no hair at all on your head or in your face is just really very, very difficult. So, you know, some women are brave enough to go around without a wig. Other people wear wigs. Men don't have that option, really. So it is really emotionally extremely traumatic for many people. And I've got some clients who just won't leave the house anymore, you know, because of the hair loss. And they feel, you know, they won't go out anymore because they're worried, even if they just have thinning hair, that it's in the evening, for example, if they go out, if there are any strong lights shining on the head, you can see the scalp through because the hair's so thin. So there are lots of emotional issues that come as a side effect of having thinning hair or losing your hair.
And that's often the side that the doctors don't deal with, isn't it, in any respect? They will just look at the symptom of the hair loss, but actually they don't look at that emotional side, which is huge.
It is a huge side, but, you know, it's even worse than that. And I hear that from my clients every day, is that they, you know, forget the psychological side, even the physical side. I mean, most clients come to me and say they have been to a dermatologist or to a doctor, and they just either are told that they have to live with it, they're told that nothing can be done about it, or they're given stuff like minoxidil or steroids, all of which have considerable side effects, and they sometimes do work. And I'm not saying, you know, I'm not slagging off conventional medicine here, because some of these things, despite their side effects, do work, but they do have, you know, very bad side effects, some of them, and others you have to take for the rest of your life. And there are no long-term studies to see what, for example, minoxidil does. Some people put it on their head, and I've got one client who used minoxidil once, and they were sick. They were physically sick. They had to throw up. So, you know, it shows, it's one of the ways that we can know this stuff does not just stay on the head or on the scalp. It goes into the body. And that's true of anything that you put on externally will end up in the body. So...
actually, that's a really interesting point, because I had a client today who was talking about the fact they were applying something and they couldn't see how it was going in, and they were having the problems they were having internally because of it, and they didn't realise, you know, the skin is absorbing it and sending it through.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and that can be a real problem. But, you know, I would never say to somebody, don't take minoxidil, but what I do say is, here's a list of the side effects. If you're happy with those, please do it. I don't have a problem. Give it half a year. If you're getting good results, that's great. And if not, come back, see me. So, you know, but doctors still don't seem to know anything about the reasons for why hair is falling out. They usually say, oh, it's a hormonal thing. My question, though, is how come the body can produce perfectly healthy hair for a great number of years, and then suddenly it cannot do that anymore? So suddenly there is a hormonal imbalance. I want to know, why is there a hormonal imbalance? To me, this is not the reason why the hair is falling out. The reason is whatever is causing the hormonal imbalance. And that is what I want to find out about, and that's really what I do with my clients.
The thing is that from reading your book and from my own work, you start to realise there's a huge amount of different aspects of health that actually impact on the hair specifically. Do you want to just cover some of those off? Because one of them in particular covered off in the book is heavy metals and the mercury. And it's not well talked about that those are actually an impactor.
Yes, I found, as you're saying, and I agree with you, there are lots and lots of reasons why you can have it. The three main areas that I found that I always check for my clients is the toxic metals, invasive organisms, and food intolerances. There are many more, but those are the main ones. And with the metals, one of the main areas of concern there is really the mercury, which mainly comes from amalgam fillings. Amalgam fillings consist of over 50% mercury, although I understand now in some countries they have changed the amalgam fillings not to contain mercury. But all of us who have had amalgam fillings in will have had the old ones. And mercury is highly, highly toxic. My sister is a holistic dentist. She lives and works in America, so we have regular exchange of information about that. So she's educated me about that as well, apart from my research. But when you have amalgam fillings in your teeth, and every time you brush your teeth, every time you chew, any time you grind your teeth, very, very slight mercury vapors actually come off the tooth. And there's a really great little video on the internet where you can see this is happening. And these mercury vapors go down through your mouth, into your digestive tract, and these vapors, the mercury in them, can settle anywhere in the body, in your brain, in your organs and glands, and so on. And over time, they will cause considerable damage to your nervous system, and they can even cause psychotic things. Do you know this expression, mad as a hatter?
Yes.
That comes from the hat industry, where they used to use mercury to treat the felt for the hats. And many of those men who were working there ended up in an asylum because of the mercury toxicity. So they were handling the mercury and breathing in the fumes. So that had an impact on their nervous system to such an extent that they actually went mad. Now, I'm not saying if you have amalgam fillings in your teeth, you're going to go mad, but I've given a talk at a hypnotherapy conference recently, speaking about depression, anxiety, not all in the mind, because I have had clients, and many of my hair loss clients actually tell me that once they start on a detox, their depression goes, their anxiety goes, their OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, goes, which is notoriously difficult to treat. So what does that tell us? So if I detox from mercury, if people have their amalgam fillings changed, their mood changes, their whole psychological setup changes. Now, those are serious effects apart from the physical effects of making the body go toxic.
And this is something that your doctor would never actually drill down on.
No, never. In fact, many dentists don't even know that. I have sent some of my clients and said, look, you really have to have at least some of those amalgams out to just lessen the toxic load. And they understand that. They've read my book. They've seen 2 pages of side effects of mercury, so they're quite happy to go. And the dentist tells them that there is nothing wrong with amalgam fillings. They're all nicely tied up with the other metals. But many dentists don't know anything about that. And yet, when they take an amalgam out, the interesting thing is they can't just chuck it in the bin. They have to not touch it, put it into an airtight container, and have it as separate toxic waste. Now, I asked myself, how can something be perfectly safe in my mouth, but it's toxic waste once it's being taken out? Well, something doesn't make any sense here, does it?
No, and that's a very good point, because that is actually what happens. And you have to be so careful getting rid of it. And actually, they're perfectly happy with you having it in your mouth all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I've seen my sister, I had one amalgam filling in, which I didn't know I had in, and she just always checks my teeth when I go see her in America. And when she took it out, she was wearing a gas mask. And this is not an exaggeration. I had was it called, like a suction unit in front of my face to pull the mercury vapors away from my face, because during the removal, lots of vapors become free as well. That's why you need to detox before you have them out, while you have them out, and after, for quite a few months afterwards. So, this is serious stuff. There is a very high suicide rate amongst dentists. There is a very high rate of spontaneous abortions in dental personnel. It's just even people who are in the environment, because it's the fumes that people breathe in, and it has an effect on the hormonal balance, and it has an effect on your fertility as well. So I've just been, I'm very up on it now, because I've just done all the research for this. There is research on that. That I can quote, that you can look up on the internet. This is actually the case. So it's a very, very big issue here with the amalgam fillings.
And the thing is that there are areas of the Dental Association who know that, and who basically are speaking out. But then the overall association is hiding that research or keeping that research suppressed. And I don't know which one it is, but in effect, and I'm not sure which industry it would help in regards to that, but it isn't beneficial to have mercury in your mouth at all, or any heavy metals in the body.
That's right, yeah. Well, apparently there are no fillings that are completely safe, but compared to mercury, anything else is absolute wonderful. There's white fillings are much better, gold is much better. They all have an effect on the body, and I agree with you that basically if you can have no metals in the mouth, that would be best. But, many of us, I'm sort of going to hit 60 next year. That's just the way it was done then. So I've got crowns and I've got gold and stuff like that. But I think it's damage limitation in a way to make sure you detox properly and so on. And for hair, it is absolutely essential because mercury is known to make hair fall out. It's one of the signs of mercury toxicity. So, it is very important to have that sorted out. And I say to some of my clients, if you can't go on holiday this year because you have to have your amalgams out, believe me, it's a good choice, because I also think that there is a high involvement with Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases with the mercury, so it has to be a priority to have them changed.
In the book, you also talk about parasites and the impacts of them on the hair. Do you want to just cover that off as well a little bit for me?
Sure. Well, with parasites, people always think parasites, it's something third world stuff. Yeah. But it really isn't. And I would have thought you probably find that at your practice as well as a naturopath, that it is something that comes up, fungi, parasites themselves, worms, flukes, things like that, can have a major impact on your health generally. And when you have these invasive organisms, they will actually eat your food. They also feed on mercury. Some of them, fungi and parasites, actually feed on mercury. So the more mercury you've got in your body, the happier they are and the harder it is to get rid of them. So there's actually a relationship between those two things. And they just produce toxins in the body, ammonia and other things, that will have an impact on all the rest of the body. Because, the body is, as you know, is a very intricate system of checks and balances. And if something gets imbalanced or begins to not function properly, Other parts can take over for a while, but if the imbalance gets too bad, then something has to give. So if invasive organisms are eating your food and there are not enough nutrients coming in, the body becomes acidic, then any nutrients that are there, the body will give to the brain and to the heart, because this is about survival. So your hair, as far as your body concerned, is the least of its worries. So the hair is going to go first because it's not necessary for survival. So, that is where invasive organisms are very important, and they have to be checked and they have to be gotten rid of in the right way so that the client can still function while they're doing the detox.
Parasites are really interesting to remove, aren't they?
They're very interesting, and they can be quite tenacious, and you have to keep at it. So that's where we really need to have very good cooperation from our clients. Very often we have to do other things first before you can get rid of the parasites, because as long as they have got plenty of food to eat, it's going to make it harder.
And what would you suggest putting in place before you dealt with the parasites?
Well, it depends. In kinesiology, we always work what's called in body sequence, which means we take our cue from what the body tells us. So if I get from somebody's arm muscle response or from a hair sample response that there's a priority of, for example, doing a liver gallbladder cleanse because there might be gallstones in the system, they need to come out first so that the liver can actually deal with the detox, then that might be one of the first things to be done, where people have to take either supplements to do that or do the actual liver gallbladder cleanse. With the oil and so on, and with the apple juice and so on. But it depends, and it's completely individual, because everybody is different. Some people, if they are very weak and are very exhausted, you can't even start with a cleanse, you can't even start with a detox, because it's going to make them really ill. So they might need a few supplements or homeopathic remedies or anything else that will give them enough energy to deal with a very light detox. So there isn't really any particular formula. It's completely tailor-made to whatever the client's body can tolerate at that point in time. Even taking out amalgam fillings, for example, I can test that as well. And for some people, they can't take anything out for the next 12 weeks because their body can't take the pressure of it. In which case, we just build up the strength and the energy levels first, and then do a very light detox until they're ready to actually have the amalgam fillings out, or to have the detox from parasites, liver flukes, whatever it is they have.
Now, can you just explain for my audience who actually don't know about kinesiology, health kinesiology, and what exactly you're doing and what exactly you're testing? Because it's a very different way of working to a nutritionist who would just put supplements in there, who would just look at what's going on and then automatically put supplements in to deal with the deficiency. Now, I actually have a machine and I test as well, I muscle test as well. So I will always see what the body is actually accepting of, and there's a natural path. We always... We will make sure the body is ready to actually have its cleanse and can actually take on board the changes that we're going to do. And so I'm really interested, for my audience to understand what is the difference with a kinesiologist.
Sure. Well, there's two ways in which I work. One is to actually have the client here. So they would be lying on my treatment couch on their back, and they just comfortably have their lower arm a little bit up, so elbows on the couch, the arm is up a little bit, and I put very gentle pressure on that arm. And I can now either put a test vial on the body and put very gentle pressure on the arm, and to see whether the body gets stressed by the presence of this test vial on the body. So let's say we've got a parasite test vial on the client's body. I put very gentle pressure on the arm of the client. If the arm goes down, it means the client's body gets stressed by the presence of this test file, which means the body's reacting to it, which means the body is having a problem with that particular parasite. I can do the same with food intolerances, so I can put test files for any food on the body. So I can just go through it like that. I can then also verbally ask, always using the arm muscle as a response, as a biofeedback thing, is it appropriate and beneficial to detox from this metal now? And I will get a response from the arm. Either the arm goes down, which is like a no response because the body gets stressed by the fact that they might have to detox from this now, or the arm stays strong, where I can press it a little bit, but then it stops. And that tells me that the body is ready to detox from that particular, let's say, liver fluke that's on the body, in homeopathic dilution, of course, in a test bar. I can then go through my test kit of supplements that are known to be helpful for parasites, for example. And if I put a test vial of a supplement together on the body with the fluke test vial, and then press the arm gently again. If the arm now stays strong, it means that this remedy will help with that particular fluke. So it's it's a fairly laborious process. It probably takes longer than when you're working with your machine. But I can also work in a different way, which I tend to do now, where people send me a hair sample or a nail sample if they don't have any hair anymore, and I can do the same muscle testing using one of my muscles as a surrogate muscle. Now that sounds really weird, but I promise you it does work. I've got genuine case histories on my website that, of people who I've never actually seen, because the hair sample is like a replacement of the client being there, and I can hold the test vials together with a hair sample and use one of my muscles to test. That's much quicker, more effective, and I can test a lot more quickly. So that's what I generally do for clients.
And this is how, in effect, you are tailoring your approach for every single person.
That's right, yes. It's completely individual, and I think the art of that is to keep your head out of it, because it's very easy to think, oh, I know what they need to take, but you know what? I don't know what they need to take. Their body knows what to take, and with the help of a hair sample, I can actually establish that. And I know I got it right, because sometimes, you can't help it, but you think, oh, I think this remedy would be good, or this homeopathic remedy would be good. And then you get no when you test through all those. And then you look around the room and think, well, I've tested all my test kits. What is it? And then suddenly you see another test kit which you haven't looked at. And you just go through that, and all of a sudden you get yes. And especially with homeopathic remedies, I don't know all the reasons why you could take that particular remedy, so I always go and look it up in my Buraka to see what that remedy actually does. And it is just mind-boggling to see that those are the symptoms the client is displaying besides the hair loss. So, that's how I know that it's really quite reliable to do it that way, because I don't know what this remedy is when I pick it up and test it, but it seems to be correct. So it's good to be able to do that, and it seems to work very well.
And I've seen kinesiologists work, and I can do the same thing, which basically you don't even have to have the item there. You can just have the words written down. And
yes, that would work as well. I would not necessarily share this with my clients. I think this might be just a little bit too weird, but it does work very well. And I find, with people, with many people, especially, my sisters, I can do stuff over the phone as well. It just, I don't know why a particular remedy comes up. My sister rings me up. I've got another sister in Germany, and she says, I've got this and that symptom, and I'm feeling like this and that. And I just test over the phone, and I just see what comes to my mind, or go through my list of things that could be possible, and I don't understand why it's come up, but I'll just ask how many times do they have to take this remedy, for how long, which dosage. And then I tell my sister, and she thinks I'm bonkers, and I think I'm bonkers, and she goes away and she takes it, and it works. Well, you could say it's a placebo effect, but, hey, good. If it's a placebo effect, I'm impressed. But the thing is that it also works on animals. I have also actually treated a cat with hair loss problems, and the cat needed a remedy, which was an emotional remedy, and the cat regrew her hair. So, unless we can now establish that animals also are subject to a placebo effect, I think there might be a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah, I actually have a testimonial from Fraggle the Budgie on my website for feather loss at one stage. And I actually did it with a machine, so I didn't actually muscle test, but I did it with the machine. And
brilliant.
I do have a funny story, which is I said to the client, I held the 2 probes that I had, and I just said, where do you think I should put them? Of which I won't do that again, because the client's face was a picture. How do you think that remote testing works, just out of curiosity from my perspective? I'd really like your perspective on that.
Well, I think there's 2 things: that energy can be in 2 places at the same time, and that it's the intention as well that plays a role in it. There are scientific research projects which have shown, and this is not by some open-toed sandals, long-haired people. These are really, really scientific things that show that electrons can be in 2 places at the same time. There can be a wave, there can be a material thing in one place at the same time. And I think that we can actually move things and see things in that way, which is quite a natural way. There's nothing bizarre or nothing about being specially talented. It's just tuning into that. It's like tuning into a particular vibration of something, and that you can heal people at a distance. I find it makes complete sense to me, because particles can be in different places at the same time, and you can influence the particles by what you're thinking. And that's how I look at it. So for me, it makes complete sense, and I don't have a problem with that, but I can see how other people have a massive problem with that. Just like this whole debate with homeopathy at the moment, where, they're trying to discredit it because there's nothing left in there. Well, that's not the point, that this is about subtle energies which you cannot measure, and therefore they don't exist as far as science is concerned. But, how come we can have particles in 2 different places at the same time? So if that can be, then surely it can also be that there is still an energy information in a homeopathic remedy where the substance is so diluted you can't find the original substance in it anymore.
Well, Luc Montagnier's work was in 2010. I imagine you do know of his work. He was a Nobel Prize winning biologist, and his work has shown that you can dilute molecules right down and still see the trace of them and the impact of them. And he had 2 test tubes next to each other, and he was noting how the resonance was passing from one to another. And that was absolutely fascinating. By accident, he proved homeopathy. So he was jumped all over, and I think Nature has, the journal, scientific journal, has done everything it can to discredit his work ever since. But, what you're effectively talking about is quantum physics in many respects, aren't you? And the 0 point energy field, which has been dismissed by physicists for many, many years, and which they've kind of put to one side when they've done their experimentation, and they're now having to acknowledge is there and is having an influence.
Absolutely. And there are quite a few scientists now who will who will confirm that, like Bruce Lipton and so on, if you read his books. And I know Lynn McTaggart has done quite a good series of books and articles that make it quite understandable. It's not an easy subject matter, but there is plenty of research. It's just not a popular view because, it's like when everybody thought that the Earth was flat and you couldn't travel too far, otherwise you'd fall over the edge. Just think about Galileo and, how everybody was giving him a hard time and thinking the man's completely mad. And then now, of course, it's the usual thing. I remember one scientist said at a conference, she said, there are always 3 stages you go through if there's a new discovery. First, everybody says it can't be done. Then the next stage is when you can keep doing it. They say, yes, it can be done, but not here. And then if you keep on going and it becomes something that is established truth, then everybody says, well, of course, we always knew it could be done. But that is not the truth. It's always a big struggle with these things. And it's the same with quantum physics. But luckily, we've got loads and loads of really good books about it. More and more people are getting interested in it. And people are voting with their feet. They don't go, they don't go down the old route necessarily anymore because it hasn't worked. So, in a way, we're all forced to think in a different way and find new ways. And that's where, quantum physics, I think, is going to become more and more popular, where more people understand what this actually means and how this can change our lives to a big, big degree.
The whole intention side of things is really fascinating, and the vibrational side of work, the energy side of work, for me, just it blows me away with the impact it can have on clients really quite quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is really absolutely amazing, and things, where there is nothing that can be done. I've seen people recover considerably, from cystic fibrosis, which is, it's an inherited, it's a genetic fault. And I'm not saying that you or I can heal that, but we can make it so much better that people can really have such a good life, live much longer. I've got a client with CF, and he's supposed to die at 30. He wasn't working anymore. He was weak, and he's now married. He's working full time. He's playing ice hockey, and he's doing very well. And he's got a little son. So, he still has it, and he's not doing too well. But he's 40 now, and he's achieved all those things, and he's having a good life. So, that is really quite something.
How much do you find the mind impacts on the health of the individual generally?
100%. Because, it's measurable, isn't it? You can just get, I used to, when I did workshops, I used to have a skin tension meter, and I put that on people, and I just asked them in a safe environment, I said, just think about somebody you are afraid of, or somebody you don't like. And they closed their eyes and they just thought about that person, and the skin tension rocketed. You could see it. And this is only one value that you can observe. You could put a blood pressure meter on people. People have been tested where the blood was taken before and after. The blood chemistry changes. It has a complete effect on the whole body. And, if it only happens sometimes that people get very tense, it's one thing. But if there's a low level of stress all the time, you can imagine how the whole body system can be completely out of sync because of what's going on in people's heads and in their emotions. Big impact.
And the thing is that low-level stress is often some people, it's a bit like drinking. They've built up a tolerance to, and they don't notice it anymore. But the health just slowly but surely degrades step by step. And this is where I feel that sometimes I see hair loss, and it's happened, and now my clients will say, oh, it's happened overnight. And when I track it, there's actually a big period of time where they've had quite a significant amount of stress and stressors happening at what they consider is a level that doesn't affect them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And as you say, you get used to it, so you don't notice it anymore. You think it's normal. And that's where, sometimes it can be really good. And I've got some clients who come for hypnotherapy, psychotherapy to sort out these stresses so that the body can actually sort itself out. Because the body knows how to grow the hair properly, but it's been disrupted from doing it. And sometimes it can be emotional things, that actually have this effect. I've had some clients who had one traumatic event in their life, and that's after that the hair fell out. Sometimes it can be something like a sudden shock or an accident. Some people, kid falls off the tree, and after that the hair falls out, which I assume will be because the electromagnetic field of the body has been disturbed by that sudden impact of the fall. So that's where, with health kinesiology, you can do some work with magnet, where you put magnets on the body in appropriate places for the body to realign itself again. So there's loads and loads of other stuff except for the metals and invasive organisms that could also be the case.
So one of your earlier books, Positive Living, I actually hand it out to my clients, and it's truly a brilliant book, I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
And I don't say that lightly, because I actually used it myself years ago to help me get through my issues. But do you think, because it's actually quite an old book now, do you think that it's still current?
Yeah, I think all these books are still current. I mean, even Norman Vincent Peale's Positive Thinking book, which came out in the 50s, I think, is still selling. The whole topic is very, very relevant because of the impact the mind has on the body and the mind has on how well you will be doing in life, how happy you will be in life. Whatever the mind can perceive, the mind can achieve, If you think you can't, you can't. If you think you can, you can. Whatever you think, you're always right, So it's got an impact on absolutely everything. And, obviously we're shaped by our personality type that we're born with to a certain extent, by our environment as well, where we grew up and what happened to us. But in the end, I think your job in life is to sort these things out and make yourself to be the best person you can. And for that, these positive thinking books, mine and there's plenty of others that are really good, they are really, really helpful because they start you thinking, what are you doing? Is your mind like a driverless bus that's going all over the place? Or is it something that you can actually take control of, where you can lead it into a direction that's more positive and that's more constructive for you? And that's what my book and other books are teaching. And I think kids should learn it at school when they're 6 years old. They should start with that because it makes such a big difference.
Do you think living positively is one of our key challenges in life then?
I suppose it probably is, because, you and I are in a profession where we probably, we face these issues much more than the next person who's maybe an accountant or who doesn't deal with health issues so much or doesn't deal with psychological issues so much. But I think it's always been relevant and will always stay relevant. Well, we could say, have we got it very hard today? I don't know. Every period faces its own challenges. And I think, the challenges we have now, are offset by some things that are easier for us today, whereas people, didn't have any anesthetics when the tooth was pulled out, 100 years ago, were facing different challenges. They might not have had the pollution that we have today. So is it 6 of one and half a dozen of the others? I don't know, but positive thinking is absolutely crucial, and I tell you, I'm still working on it. And I find it is so helpful, and sometimes I have to remind myself because, you might be writing the books, but you still need to do it yourself.
Positive thinking is our lifelong lesson.
Oh, it certainly is, yeah. I'd say that.
Now, there are some people who will say that the whole positive thinking arena is basically about sticking your head in the sand and just pretending that the negative isn't happening. What's your response to that?
Nice question, that. Yes, because I get that question a lot from people who are skeptic and think, oh, well, it's all a lot of hogwash. The thing is that difficult things will always happen in life. That's a fact. Now, with a positive thinking, this is not about saying, oh, it's not there, I can't see it, it's not happening. The positive thinking is about seeing that it is there, but doing something about it. Now, if you think about it, like if somebody's lost their job, now you've got two possibilities. You can either say, oh my God, this is disaster. I have never had anything. Why me? I've never had anything so bad happen to me. Why me? This is just unjust. I haven't been fired. This, that, and the other. While you're thinking like that, nothing can come of that, because with that sort of attitude and with this way of thinking, you're not going to go and think about what you can do about it, how you can move the whole situation forward, but you're just sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, feeling horrible. And it is not nice losing your job. It is a difficult situation. But what I'm talking about is, okay, this has happened. This is really hard, but what are we going to do about it? In order to think, what am I going to do about it, I have to have a positive mindset, which means that I believe I can do something about it. And people have done the weirdest things to actually find new job. As long as you are positive and you think I can find a new job, you're much more likely to notice an opportunity when it comes along. You're more likely to speak to people and say, I'm looking for a job like this and that and the other. You're more likely to be aware when there is a possibility. I always tell my clients, opportunity only knocks. It doesn't kick down the bloody door. So you have to pay attention. And you can only be attentive if you have an aim. And your aim in this situation has to be, I'm going to find another job. And it's going to be even better than the last one. Because that way you're focused on what you want to achieve. And you will see the opportunities. People who are just desperate, who just feel negative, who feel hard done by, They won't see the opportunities. They won't notice that a friend of theirs says, oh, my company is looking for a new so-and-so. Because, oh, well, I know I can't get that job anyway. Nobody wants me. I've been fired. I've been made redundant, whatever. You don't see these opportunities, and that is where the positive thinking is very important. It's not sticking your head in the sand, it's doing something about it. Activity, you've got to do something about it, and you need a positive attitude for that.
Now, many of us are driven by unconscious fears nowadays, particularly that are kind of generated around us by others, and particularly the media, because so many people watch so much television. And for me, it's very much like programming. But what I really notice, because I don't have a television, how hypnotic things like the news are, because they will repeat the same images in the same language. And actually, if I've spent a few minutes watching the television news, I actually feel quite fearful when I actually, because I don't have a television, I don't generally feel like that. How do we actually, avoid that impact that, because it's unconscious, isn't it, in many respects?
Yeah, it's very true, and I find that as well. And I used to never have a television either, but now I've moved in with my boyfriend, and he's got this big television, so that thing is on. So I'm sort of force-fed sometimes.
That's men for you and their big TVs.
But, I know exactly what you mean, because I certainly don't have to hear the news 5 times a day like Carl does. But okay. I think it's probably very important to seek out positive news, because I think we have to stay very aware that what we hear is only a very, very small portion of what's actually happening around us. And sadly, it's mostly the bad news that sells newspapers, that sells programs, that is something that's being watched. avidly. I mean, just look at all the soaps. Oh, you know, I couldn't bear to watch them because it's one disaster after the other. And that, you know, maybe for some people it's like, it's quite positive in the way that they think, well, my family isn't as bad as that, you know. But I think we need to, seek the company of positive people where we see that we do things to change what isn't good in our environment, change something where help is needed, people who are positive themselves, because those are the people that are going to make the positive changes, and just reduce watching crap on television basically as much as possible. Really limiting how much you watch, I think, would be a very good idea. But seek out positive people and seek out positive news as well. And that can be found. I know maybe 5-6 years ago there was a paper, sort of a small paper that was called something like Positive News. I can't quite remember. Yeah. And that was nice because the whole paper was full with people who'd achieved things, something where wrong had been righted in a good way. And, you know, that was really good. So maybe you and I need to think about that and set something up if we have time, Debs. I think that would be good.
That would be fantastic.
That's really uplifting, isn't it?
Yes, I absolutely agree. And also, I remember from one of your articles how important it was to have new experiences as well that led to a level of joy. But I know a lot of people and a lot of my clients stop themselves from doing things because they fear the consequences during the learning curve. They fear the failure and they fear other people criticising them or laughing at them or, you know, thinking that they're alternative. What things would you help that, you know, those clients kind of put in place if people, you know, for those more interesting experiences in life, which do, you know, wag your tail, as I say.
That's good. I like that. Well, my first question would be, if somebody's like that and they, you know, if they come to see me or tell me about it, that they just don't quite dare to go a certain route, is where did you learn to believe that what other people think is more important than what you think? And people have learned that. It usually goes back to an experience where maybe they have been told off if they tried to do something their own way. Maybe they were, you know, bullied into always conforming or something like that. And I find that tends to be very helpful, you know, usually just a few sessions to sort that out, where people feel more sure of themselves, where they have greater self-esteem, where they say, well, it may be a weird thing to do, but that's what I really find interesting and I will pursue this. So it's all to do with your inner world of how you see yourself and how you fit into the rest of the world and what your value is and what the value of your opinion is and what the value of other people's opinion is. There's usually just an imbalance there where, you know, where you value other people's opinion more than your own. And I think that can be a big problem, especially if it's a cultural thing. I've got many clients from the Asian community, and that is very, very hard for them because it's so ingrained that they're having real problems if they want to do something differently. In that respect, the white community has it easier because we are more tolerant of things that are a bit different, and we're not necessarily cast out of our community because we're doing something in a different way. Whereas in other cultures, this can be seriously a problem. So, you know, but in the end, it's got to be you, and you have to stand by what your passions are. And as long as you don't damage anything or damage other people when you're pursuing your interests, then it is probably your life's purpose to do just that and follow your heart and follow your dreams and do the thing that is important to you, because, you know, you are unique. Nobody else can fill your place in this world. You're completely unique, and I do believe that people have a mission in life, and it is important to find the mission, and it's very, very important to pursue that. And it's not always easy, but it's something you have to do, because you don't want to get run over by a red London bus tomorrow and think, if only I'd done this or if only I'd done that. You know, none of us know how long we've got. And, you know, I was thinking you better crack on with it and do the things, because there might not be a tomorrow for you. You might get ill or whatever could happen. So enjoy what you have and do what you want to do. It is really very important.
Vera, that's a fantastic way to end an interview, in all honesty. I'm looking at other questions and I'm thinking I don't really want to ask anymore, because that's a beautiful message to truly finish on. So can you give out your contact details, website, where people can actually get in contact with you if they want to see you for the hair sampling, to understand how to get their hair growing back and things like that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I'll do that. The website you want to look at is www.hairgrowthuk, that's all one word, hairgrowthuk.net. And you'll find all the information there. It'll give you an order form for the hair sample testing. And if you want to contact me, you're very welcome to do so. Just write to me at hairgrowth@Fifer.co.uk. And sadly, my surname is Peiffer and not Fifer, so you have to spell that correctly. So it's hairgrowth at PEIFF for Foxtrot ER.co.uk, and you can get me there. And I will answer questions as quickly as I can.
Thank you very much, Vera. This has been absolutely fantastic and totally and utterly my pleasure. So did you all enjoy that with Vera? Wasn't she fabulous? She's probably given a lot of us something to think about, particularly with the positive living side. Really fabulous interview. I was really grateful to her. So how are you all in the chat box here? You're all going a little bit mad again. So that's fabulous. Let's see. So sometimes when you run down, it's hard to stay positive. We're not all Abraham Hicks. Yeah, we do get knocked. It is hard. We know that. So well, if you rewire pessimism, it doesn't make sense. Huh? Sometimes, look guys, you've got to write this in a way that when I read it out, the grammar sounds right. Come on guys, help me out here. And then rebounding for lymphs. Is that like a relationship? I'm on the rebound your lymph system. No, but you're absolutely right, Tom. Rebounding is very good for the lymph system to keep it moving. So, and Kaza apparently she's got bread in the oven and all is well here. Fantastic. I almost said a bun in the oven, but I don't want to actually spread rumours about Kaz. So, thank you for joining me for the second half. You know I love you being here with me. Now, Rupert Sheldrake in A New Science of Life emphasises that molecular biology isn't false, but it's just limited in its perspective. And I actually agree. So, you know where I'm heading today. The more I work with people, the more they confound me in how there's no set way really to actually get well. You know, he compares it to understanding how TV works. And although lots of you have been saying you got rid of your televisions, excellent. I think that's one of the best things you can ever do. Throw it out. Ritualization of throwing out TVs. I cannot encourage enough, I'll really say. So he compares it to understanding how TV works. Like traditional biology kind of just examines the hardware of the TV set. You know, it's trying to see how the picture is formed, but it actually ignores our crucial software, the invisible stuff, the invisible wave transmissions. I love that. I love the way he actually explains that. Is reality a mere trick of the light, he says. We create our own reality. I truly believe it. Mystics have said it for years, haven't they? Let's face it. You know, well, all of these things that people poo-poo, science poo-poos, you know, what quantum physicists are now saying, you know, that the world of the solid separate objects is a superficial appearance. Our mystics told us everything was an illusion. And there's even a song there. It's just an illusion. But yeah, is it an illusion? Let's look at that. Somehow, let's see what's going on in the chat box. And Kazi, you've sent me a private PM. I'll answer that afterwards. I'm hoping it's not about the fact that I've said you might have a bun in the oven. And Bob Bot is back. Yes. Yeah. Is that bun in the oven something to do with Bob Bot? I didn't say that. Anyway, at the quantum level, everything's interconnected for me. And it's like an interwoven pattern. I'm seeing everything now like a carpet that's weaving its pattern in front of me as I dance through life. And I want you to think of it in the same way, because we have more control over this than we actually think. We often think things are done to us, things happen, and we have no way of actually controlling it. Well, I'm saying that actually I am the weaver of that pattern. You know, what I'm learning and seeing on my clients is that consciousness and what you think actually plays a far more crucial role in this physical reality than we actually realise. You know, and I focus that obviously on health. So I constantly come back to the dashboard of my body, you know, and ask it, what is it telling me? Because I have probably created that. And what for me is really interesting, because I'm seeing this whole reality like a play. I imagine everything like a play now that we've created around us to play out our conscious and unconscious thinking. Everything's a message. There are no observers, only participants in my play, you know, and they help us to learn and live our life that we are creating. They help to create that. So what is the play that you are actually the main actor in? You know, do you want to just exit stage right? Or do you want to come on and, you know, be the centre of attention and have the spotlights on you, have that exhilarating life, because you have created that play. Now, there's a guy called James Jean, and he was a physicist back in 1930s, and he actually said that the universe begins to look more like a great thought than a great machine. So whose thoughts do we want them to be? Because whose reality are we focusing on? Whose reality is this? And the questions for me are why? Why would we create this if it's painful in some way? Why would we create this if it's causing us disease? I ask these questions all the time. Because if it's true, then why would we be doing this to ourselves? What is the learning that's there for you? Because if this is a big playground that we have created, why would we be who we are? You know, what are we? You know, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? Why are we experiencing what we're experiencing? In many respects, we've been brainwashed, and I don't use that word lightly, in all honesty. You know, we've been brainwashed for many hundreds of years, at least 300, by scientists who are telling us that we live in a mechanised environment, a mechanical environment, which works like clockwork, where our life happens at random. You know, it's got little input from ourselves. It's almost isolated us off with this machine-like thinking. I hate to say it, Bob, it's not looking good for you with that machine-like thinking. But it makes it seem like quite a brief existence that just happens to us, and that it's meaningless at this level. You know, it makes us think that everything is just a battle to keep that mechanical experience going. Oh, you have to do this, and that means that this, then that, and this, then that. Actually, your core, you know, our core is almost irrelevant in this world. You know, just tell me how you're treated by your medical people. Tell me how we're treated by science, by working. I could go on and on and on. We're treated like mechanised beings. It's brutal. It really is quite brutal in so many ways, because it ignores our true internal essence, and that essence that is life, that is just so unquantifiable. Our spirits are just constantly quashed, aren't they? Our inspiration, our energy, our motivation, our creativity, our ethics. You know, and those are the things that truly make us. It's our faith, our experience. And we're told it's not important. We're told it's irrelevant. It's ignored. It's ignored for the importance of ego. I was having a conversation earlier with someone about ego and the state that says that you will be what they're telling us to be. You will be that. You will experience things like that. We will expect you to have that type of experience by when we do this to you, this happens. When we do this to you, that happens. It deprives us at our soul level of actually, you know, truly having our own experience that we're meant to have on this world. And actually, this experience is the one thing that they truly can't measure. That's what's going on in the chat box. I hate to say the bitching bot is actually saying machine hearts, machine mind. Got that on repeat, I'm sure. And yeah, Rich is saying, yes, you know, they create your fear. You create your fear. The TV does. Absolutely. So I say throw it out. Absolutely throw it out. Get rid of it. We should put them in the streets. Kaza is a he, Debs. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Kaza. You will have a name like Kaza. That's like Karen. That makes me laugh. I create my own reality there for Kaza. Who says that Kaza's not female in my reality? Anyway. And Rich is saying TV is the biggest hypnotic fear mongering machine ever. Unfortunately, Kaza's laughing. Our science, it doesn't represent the truth for me half the time. It's a theory, it's storytelling on one of the biggest scales ever, really. And, you know, it's just their reality. It's their way of seeing the world as they've created it. You know, they have created dogma and fear. So we have to see it in the same way. Well, I have to say it, we don't have to. They do it by force. It's all ego, you know. Look at the mandatory vaccination issue. You know, the problems parents have if they don't want their children to go through orthodox treatments. They're taken away from them and they're just put through these orthodox treatments. You know, they've created this, but we have to ask, why have we created that? And, you know, and they're forcing things to happen, and we are taking that because we're seeing it as almost a stronger force. Actually, we are powerful in ourselves. You know, science portrays humanity as kind of helpless pawns. You know, it sees the world as purely physical. It poo-poos the non-physical. Yeah, I see it working every day in my practice with my clients. It's about connections. How's Kaza feeling? Is he feeling any sickness in the morning, Kaza? Feeling okay? And Rich is saying, mobile phones are now the next fear-creating machine. And I will not buy into the whole smartphone thing at all. I just will not. I don't want stuff constantly coming at me. I want to be controlling it far, far more. Let's see. What else are you saying? Bada bing. Alex Jones spreads fear. And that's his reality. So if you're hooking into that, then actually you have to ask why, because you're part of that reality. You're part of creating that yourselves. And Rich is saying mobile phones create a negative space of EMF. Yes. But we're part of this. We're all creating it. This is in your, if you imagine it's like your play, you have to ask yourself why. Why is it in your play? Why is it there? And Nick saying Alex Jones spreads deafness if you listen too much. Yeah, you can shout quite a lot, Alex. And he's got louder over the years. It's not got less, it's got louder. So for me, it's, you know, our collective consciousness is really, really important. And, you know, we rediscover like magic our awareness of all this, our perspective of living our everyday lives. You know, reality molds itself on our beliefs, our thinking, you know, whether it's conscious or unconsciously happening. You know, no longer when something isn't going as I want it to be, you know, I think why? I say, what was I thinking to have created that? What is it that I am meant to be learning from this situation? I'm no longer held captive by my negative thinking. Instead, I free myself with questions on what do I want instead? What should I do instead? What should I think instead? I shift my energies towards thinking that way and knowing that everything that comes into my field of consciousness has to be helping me towards that goal. I imagine it like a carpet. I can see it weaving its pattern in front of me, weaving this new pattern. And sometimes we go backwards and, you know, it's like resonance, and what happens on the pattern is it starts to fracture. So my new picture starts to fracture and the old stuff starts to come in. It's woven in. And when I look at this pattern, I think, gosh, Why? Look at what I'm creating in front of me. Why would I be creating that? That's not the pattern I truly want to be seeing. I want to be unrolling a fabulous carpet. The beautiful pattern on it. You know, the more fractured that pattern, the more it's got patterning from the past coming in that I'm not happy with, rather than my beautiful future. Then I start to actually look at the scripts that are running through my head and the thinking that I've got behind it, because the conscious and unconscious is creating that going forward. You know, I look at what's not supporting me. Bitchy and Bob saying, free the mind, open the heart, live. Rich apparently can lay carpets, which is quite useful. Obviously looking at a day job there. Apparently Captain Stingray works. I'm stunned. He does programming in the day, in private. Bob saying, is that people or computers, Stingray, which is quite amusing. You guys in the chat box always make me laugh, I have to say. So what are we going to spread? What are we apart from the carpet? You know, what do we want? But no, I wasn't questioning Rich whether it was true or not about you fitting carpets. But imagine you're unrolling your life, your health out in front of you like a carpet. Imagine everything you eat and drink and think is creating an amazing pattern on that carpet. You will dance along that carpet every day. And depending on the pattern, it can be painful or exhilarating, joyful or unhappy. It can be plush and soft on your feet, or it can be hard and painful. It's all about what you want. And TRP saying that he went out and bought an EM meter after watching the vibration documentary. Yeah, that documentary is really fascinating. It's called Resonance, I think is the one you're talking about, which is absolutely brilliant, I have to say so. TRP or Bitch, and I know you've probably got the links to that, so you might want to put it in the box for everybody else. If you've not seen it, then it's truly worth spending some time and watching. And Rich is saying, you know, his job basically entail people, you know, going in and seeing people's lives and drama. And people do, they create drama around themselves. You mentioned your play, and it's quite a nice way of actually explaining it, isn't it? Our days are drama, and they can be as dramatic as you want to actually experience in many respects. Beings of frequency. That's bada bing indeed. It is a good watch. You're absolutely right. Has anyone got the link to that? Put the link in the box for everybody so that we can all go off and spend Sunday afternoon with our feet up on the sofa watching there's one called Resonance Frequency. I think, is it called Resonance Frequency? Beings of Frequency of Beings? Something like that. Anyway, I know it was Resonance. Anyway, I want you to meditate and consider the pattern that you're creating. I want you to consider how repetitive is the pattern of what you don't want happening in front of you, because it resonates in every cell of your body. This is the thing, you know, I find that when I do resonance screening, I can see emotions and trauma that are coming up in the health screenings. I see illness and negative thinking, and they're from the past. I can pick up when people have had issues in their career. I can pick up when issues have been with their parents, their father, their mother, with church even, or if it's with collective consciousness. I can pick it up because it resonates in the cell. It brings things forward. It's absolutely fascinating. Your cells will resonate on what has happened to you, but they resonate on what you hold on to. You know, it creates how you are experiencing your body now. It's the only vehicle that you have to experience your life through. Therefore, what you eat and drink and think totally matters for that to be your best experience ever. People ask me, why don't I talk about nutrition? And you know what? If I say to you, what do you think you should be eating? You can probably tell me better than I can tell you. And this is the thing. It's about our beliefs. It's about what we think that actually is the reason why you're often not eating right and things like this. So it's the thinking behind it that's the fascinating bit. So let's see what else is going on in the chat box. We're going mad today. Our friend's electric. I remember a song called that, to be honest. So, maybe if you have more computers than friends, there's an issue. Well, if you surround yourself with computers all day, then you're going to be taking in all of those electrofrequencies. So they're inevitably going to impact on you. And Bitchin saying, what did you discover with the meter? Yeah, it would be interesting, TRP, to know what you discovered with the meter and to post it for us to have a conversation with. And Bitchin saying it was a shocking documentary. I thought it was quite good, actually. Now, Jill Edwards says that perhaps the greatest truth ever discovered is that we create our own reality. It's the truth that we have always known, I believe, deep down. And when I talk to my clients, they know it. They know they've always known it. It just resonates with them. It's their intuition that they override all the time. It's their inner gut feeling that they know. They'll often tell me, I knew I should be eating that. I knew I should be doing that. And yet it's taken somebody else to sit here and confirm it for them. You know, obviously this is it's pretty scary. Why would some of us be creating a reality? You know, we are for ourselves, quite frankly. What are some of us why are we making it so hard for ourselves? But if it's true that we create our own reality, then we have to stop blaming others. Because all they're doing is creating their reality that they want. We can stop the blame. Just feel the weight go. You know, we can take the responsibility for what we've created ourselves. You know, I had a friend who constantly told me for about a year everything was being taken away from him. Lo and behold, you know, I could see what he was doing. So I kind of stood on the sidelines and watched it happen. And I stood watching it, basically absolutely broken-hearted, you know, seeing what he was doing to himself, because he said it over and over and over again. It was like a mantra. You know, it was one of the hardest things, truly, truly hard to watch. And then he blamed everybody and everything for what was happening. And yet, from my perspective, I saw he did it to himself. I could see his interactions, his thinking. You know, well, his thinking was creating his interactions with people and the things. And then, you know, it was all leading to this reaction that was happening from other people. I could see it was inevitable. I'd have put money on it, on him having nothing at the end. And believe me, he had nothing. But it was his responsibility. He could never see that. It was about him. He blamed other people and other things and other people's reactions. And yet, it was fascinating what he created. But think about the responsibility that we now have. If you are going to take responsibility for what is happening around you, every conversation, every event, every person is playing their part in your play due to you making it so. So what is their message to you? What does it mean? You know, what is it that you truly, truly want to experience at every single level? You know, you've got 70 trillion cells. How do you want to experience this life through them? This is where I am kind of asking you to tap into your inner wisdom. You know, the intuition that you probably have overridden for years. I know many of my clients have, you know, that you feel in the certain parts of your body, you know, your gut mind, which finally science has started catching up with. Oh, your gut makes decisions. Bloody hell. Fantastic. Scientists have discovered what we knew anyway. It's like when they go out and they do all this research on sugar. Sugar's bad for you. I hate to say it, but it's almost like no shit, Sherlock. It's about learning to trust what it is, your body's saying to you. It's giving you probably the clearest signals of what is and isn't right for you. I explain it as the dashboard of our body. It's a dashboard. It's our inner guidance system. When it's totally going haywire, it's overweight, it's in pain, it's got disease, it's got diarrhea, it's got bloody stomach aches, all those sorts of things. Guess what? It needs listening to. It doesn't need suppressing. You've created that. Probably from something you've done. Don't give away your responsibility of undoing it. Because if there's illness in your key vehicle that will take you through this life, then that's your biggest learning. Just suppressing your pain, just blocking up your bowels and things like that, getting the weight surgically removed. Lo and behold, guess what? The amount of people who I speak to and they say, I've had liposuction and it all came back. Yeah. What did you expect to happen? Well, they told me it wouldn't. Of course they're going to tell you it was not going to come back. They don't make business out of telling you that what they're going to do doesn't work out, does it? Are they, at the end of the day? It doesn't deal with the underlying issue of basically what you've done to yourself and why you've done it. What is the message? Why have you created that? Science can remove the physical, yeah, they can come in and cut it away, but it doesn't remove what they can't see happening and why it's happening. They can't remove the consciousness, they can't remove the energy that's creating it, and that will keep creating it. This is the thing until you change that pattern that you are weaving in front of you and the reasons why you're weaving it in front of you. So let's see what's going on in the chat box. Oh my God, someone's talking about maths. I had to take maths almost twice before I got through it. That's TRP. It's a mad world if you choose to see it. Indeed. I'm reading the chat box backwards, which probably isn't the best thing, to be honest, because for some reason, Stingray, you're talking about going to the supermarket. Oh, you talk about electro-smog. Indeed, it's not. It's just building up and building up. I do have a pod on the from last year, basically, with Mike from Smart Meters. He actually goes into electro-smog. Well worth listening to, I have to say. And Rich is saying when he sleeps, he gets fantastic dreams. How lovely is that? Right, and oh, hold on. I saw the world's lupus. And does lupus turn you into a werewolf? Do you really expect me to answer that? I don't know, if I'm honest. So Josh saying, if your bowel is chronic, you can get lip, but the inflammation will be right back because it's needed to protect you from the acids in your diet. So, unless you deal with why your bowel is in a chronic condition, this is the thing. You need to deal with the underlying issue about why your bowels become chronic and why the pH has become imbalanced and why then it's created an inflammation picture, because it's created an inflammation picture to create like a buffer to deal with what's going on in there. So, you need to protect yourself by actually having a proper diet and one that suits you and actually feeds your body correctly and reduces the inflammation picture, passes through the bowel quickly and allows you to eliminate, as we should do, because we need to eliminate what we've put into our bodies. That includes thinking at the end of the day, but the foods are key, but your thinking can stop your bowels from functioning in a moment. You put yourself into a stress state, you're watching TV and anything, it doesn't have to be physical stress that you've experienced, you'll be watching it, and basically your body will have the same stress response, and that changes the makeup and the messaging through your system because the adrenals will kick in. And when the adrenals kick in, your body doesn't want to be using the energy to actually be digesting what's going through its system at that point. It wants to escape what it thinks is a saber-toothed tiger chasing it. So fundamentally, it will stop your bowels from functioning properly. You'll either release or you'll hold on. And this is where we change the pH levels. So your bowel is a very, very good indicator of the rest of the body. Let me see what else is going on. TRP is saying stomach put oxygen into the blood, cures hangovers. Just don't do the hangover in the first place. And Tom's saying elimination is what you need. Well, what goes in should be coming out. So it's about breakdown. It needs to be able to break down effectively, become energy, or be there to rebuild the body. And then what the body needs to eliminate, it should eliminate. And that includes the basically approximately 10 million cells that die off every single second. And they also need to naturally come out of the body as well. So, and our bodies give us, subtle messages constantly, all the time. It communicates with us. It's our biggest receptor site. We are 70 trillion cells approximately. So in effect, everything's got a receptor on the outside. Our cells have got all these receptors. So constant receivers we are of all this information. We need to be able to filter it correctly. Every cell in the body is receiving and filtering at all moments. It's tiring for it. All the information. Can you imagine all the information around us? So let's see. Lupus is Latin for wolf. So I was just wondering, Deb was thinking of getting to try it out. Well, canis lupus to be accurate. Don't you live in the middle of nowhere, Stingray? I would think if you wanted to turn into a wolf and run around the rural landscape, then I'm sure you'll just be one of these obscure news items that will be talked about people who've seen the old wolf running around at night and howling. Okay, whatever floats your boat. And apparently, TRP saying, Ray, are you going to come and join the Twilight Zone? Quite Twilight gang. I've started laughing. You know what it's like when I start laughing. And Stingray saying, no TRP, it would help me get to the wine shop and back quicker. TRP has a really good hangover cure for that, Stingray. And well, I can't believe now TRPs now are saying you're going to need a special backpack, one that doesn't rub on the back, otherwise you're going to lose the hair. Because I know that basically your straps and stuff are going to rub the hair away. It's going to look a bit daft if you've got like a backpack shaped hairless area. Ray's never been the same since his close encounter. That was Bob. Oh no, you've got to now tell us about this close. I don't know if it will actually. I'm saying tell us about the close encounter. Yeah, and TRP set it off already. Yeah, you have to enlighten us about this close encounter. So, do I want to know? That's the thing. I want to be able to sleep tonight. So you look at the quality of your life, sum up your life and how it feels. Is your life what you want it to be? In reality? What needs tweaking? What needs changing? What do you want to be different? It's time to listen to our hearts far, far more and stop all this stuff coming in at us that takes us away from our true heart energy, our true core energy. It distracts us. All of the television and all the fear, it's a distraction. It puts us on a heightened alert. It puts us into states that are not healthy for us. It takes us away from our true essence. It takes us away from our heart and our connection with the right people and the right things that actually feed us and are beautiful for us and give us the life that we actually want, not the life that we actually don't want. What do you want to be different? What does your heart say? When you get in touch with it, what does it say? What's the path that it truly wants you to follow, that will feed it, that makes you dance and sing or run through the woods as a wolf? Dancing with wolves is coming to mind for some reason. And have fun with it. It's time to have fun. I think too many of us have lost kind of our perspective on this. It's easy to lose sight. It really is. And why we should be having fun and why we should be having fun with all of this. Fun takes away the stress factor. You know, if you actually looked at the television and what you were watching and all this news, if you ask the question, is this making me feel good? Is this actually adding to my life in a positive way? Is this actually making my life fun? I think you might be saying no. I know I did. When I came home and found the television didn't work anymore, you know what? I whooped for joy. I never replaced it. It'd been brought into my life by somebody else, and then it went. I didn't regret it going. Fun takes the stress factor away. It raises the endorphins. Raise your endorphins. You know, give yourself the feel-good factor. We deserve it. It's a bit like the whole L'Oreal advert. Throw your head back, throw your hair around and go, you deserve it. You know, I was brought up to think that enjoying yourself working and living your life most of the time, you know, was about actually, it had to be hard. You know, life was hard, work was hard. It was drummed into me. You know, if we were out playing, boy, we know that we'd had a good time. And my mother, you know, oh, it's all right for some going out playing. It's all right for some sitting around. I've had to do this. I've had to do this. That's what your mother's there for. You know, she's there to make you realise those things. God love her. But, you know, we're there to fight. You know, we're told over and over again it's not to be enjoyed. You've got to put effort, true, hard, really hard effort into it. God, it's got to be like pushing water uphill. You know, you don't have to experience that. It's about changing your beliefs. Change my beliefs about it all. It's key play, you know, it's key for us to play with. If we want to weave our reality, our beliefs shape our language and shape our thinking. And often it's these beliefs that hold us back because they're unconsciously playing in the background. You know, our beliefs, attitudes, thoughts, our feelings, our choices, our decision making are all parts of the ingredient list of the cake of life. I like cake. Come and join me in cake. You know, of course it's raw in my case. But, you know, you can put some together and guess what? It can taste okay. Or it can taste bloody awful. You know, or, you know, sometimes, you know, it could be a test of your endurance eating that cake. But it should be divine. You know, it should take you to heaven and back. You know, are you creating a mouth-watering life? Is it mouth-watering? Don't go blaming the chef for your life cake that you've just produced when it's come out the oven. Kaza. It's your responsibility. If it's not tasting as you want it to, you know, ask why. What have you done? What is it in that list of ingredients that hasn't worked that you need to be looking at changing? Because it's just like a list of ingredients. It is. I love that. Thinking about the cake of life. Now I'm just thinking about what cake I can have. Please don't all go off and get Mr. Kipling's cakes and all that. So you're weaving, you know, a beautiful pattern in your unfolding carpet of your dreams for you to dance along with your cake. You know, there should be, you know, they contain the colours and expressions of your life. Or is it dank and dark? And is it in need of a hoover, basically? Examine your beliefs. You know, your life confirms, and if you let it. We change our resonance internally due to changing our beliefs. We resonate and create a new reality with each thing we do. It's just one big thing, one great big thought. We are not machines, but dancing light and energy. Our beliefs are not hidden, you know, they show up. They show up in our bodies. They show up in the dashboard of the body and life. You know, we feel and experience them whether we like to or think, you know, whether we think we're going to or not, basically. Most of the work I do with clients isn't about nutrition. It's about beliefs, about what they think should be happening, and the disparity between what is and what they're actually creating for themselves. I end up looking at the reasoning behind it. My role is to help them see this. In reality, most of you know what to eat. Most people do. And Rich is saying carrot cake. We'll all run to yours in a bit then. In fact, what with Kaza making bread and then you having carrot cake, it's looking like a good day actually. Who's making dinner? What are the ingredients that you're using, that you're putting together each and every day to help you create this beautiful cake-like life? Let's have our cake and eat it, shall we? And I can't believe Bob said that as well. And Kaz is saying, open your heart and live. Absolutely. It is about opening our heart to ourselves, to life. We often feel our hearts open when there's somebody else there and we feel, I love you. Actually, how many of you think about it for yourself? I love you. And you're looking in the mirror at yourself and what you create. And you're excited about it because it's a true inner core experience. It's the thing that the scientists will never, ever understand because they work totally from their heads. They don't understand the heart and the heart energy. It's all about simply listening. Take time to listen to yourself. Learn to listen, to switch your attention to your inner world. It's not about sticking your head in the sand. It makes you more aware than you'll ever imagine. That's the irony about it. It's not about becoming a meditation guru, and it's about listening to you. Often people, they want to do meditation, right? I often get people going, I can't do meditation. I just can't, I don't know if I'm doing it right or wrong. It says a lot about our society. It's been treated in a mechanical way. It's just something I've ticked off. I have it on my to-do list and therefore I tick it off. It should be on your to-love list. To-love list's fantastic. What do I want to love today? What will give me love in my heart today? What will give me joy, expression, creativity, innovation? What will be exciting? What will raise my endorphin levels today? What will make my cake the best divine cake ever? And what's your body mind saying to it when you're deciding on those ingredients? Listen, and listen to the requests it makes. Are you positive or negative? Listening to beliefs that come up. Your reality reflects your beliefs. What pattern do you truly want to dance along this life to? Hey. So let's see what's going on. Thanks for that, Kaza. It's a great quote. I won't repeat it. Don't leave the cake out in the rain. Yep, absolutely. So what else are you all saying? I seem to have hit a chord with cake. And TRP saying, Yaks, we never sleep. You're absolutely right. If you're having a great diet, superfoods, you got the right herbs in there, get your fluids in, your water, sleep. You do need sleep. You need to cleanse. It's really, really important. But honestly, it'll create energy for you like you've never experienced. We have so many beliefs that we should and shouldn't eat, and how we should and shouldn't look, and that is someone else's reality. Create your own. How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? Affirm it daily. Most of us are labouring under beliefs that limit our potential, and I'm all for expanding our potential continuously. So don't work and labour under other people's beliefs because they are limiting you. I want us to be more powerful than we can ever imagine. Other people's beliefs probably are creating personal traumas and suffering. Our society is based on measurements around money. What you have, what size you are, but it's other people that have put that in place and we just buy into that. It doesn't have to be yours. It doesn't have to be that way if you don't want it to be. Stop depriving yourself of the joys of this life and the magic of being alive and being connected. Our biology truly is affected by our beliefs. It truly, truly is. It has a biological effect. Everything we think, everything we eat, and everything we drink has a biological effect. And we often just think of the physical. But it's not just about that. What do you want to believe? And what do you want as part of your reality? What are those ingredients that you need to have today? What is the carpet that you want to weave? What's the pattern in that carpet? As you fold that carpet in front of you, what do you want it to look like? Make it good for yourselves, guys. So I'm going to start to sign out. Is Shazise in the house? Oh, man, he's in the house. I have several favourite people, as probably you've all gathered, and Shazise is one of them because he's lovely. And he's mad science. Is truly, absolutely not mad in the slightest. That's the thing. It's just Shazise that's actually mad. And he's very special. And I do think it's only a matter of time before Shazise can actually teleport himself into our own space. And actually, we don't need to have the internet anymore. So I'm hoping for that day. And then I don't have to go all the way over to America to actually experience his workshop. So Shazise is in the house. He's next, as always, with his Tesla coils, mad music. Love him to bits. You've been great in the chat box today. Let's see who's here still. Bada Bing, thank you for coming. You've been lovely. And Rich, I'm sorry if I've traumatised you, but that's actually your reality, not mine, about reminding you of your job. And Rich, you've been lovely today. Thank you. There's Bob Bot. Come and join him on a Friday night. It's absolutely hilarious, I have to say, with Bob Bot. And who else is there? Kaza. Open your heart. Open the heart and live. Absolutely. I'm going to finish on that. You've been great, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy. And I have no idea what Nick's going to play. He always chooses. But he's just told me it's going to be Rawhide. Hell yeah. Let's finish. Off you go.